This episode is brought to you by the generous donations of our sponsors, Nabil and Dad Al-Mashtoob, Wael and Diana Fayyad, Mike and Salam Ghaida. Thank you. Hey everyone, please give a warm welcome to our guest, Sara Beaini. She's a technical leader at Electric Power Research Institute and is a Druze community volunteer. So Sara, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I am super excited to introduce you to all the Druze out there who's listening to us, and most importantly, hear your story. So please, Sara, share with us about how you first came to the United States, because I know you weren't born here. So let's talk more about your childhood.
Hi, Hadil, and thanks for having me. Excited to participate in this. So actually I was born in Saudi Arabia, and I lived there till I was 11. So I went to school there till, 5th grade, and then we moved to Lebanon. I thought we were moving there for good, but that was for 4 years. So I studied 6th through 9th grade there, and then my family and I moved to Southern California, and so I started high school in Orange County.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So you guys came here, I'm assuming it's because of work reasons, because your parents, had a job here. Is that what the case was?
Yeah, multiple reasons. Part of it, education, circumstances. We had applied for our green card 10 years before that, and so the paperwork came through, and it made sense at the time for us to transition. And actually, when I was less than 2, my dad had training in the U.S., so we came to the U.S. For a couple of years, and I learned English as a first language. So English was my first language, and then we moved back to Saudi Arabia, and there I was learning English. But I think when I was 6 or 7, my parents were able to sign me up in after-school Arabic classes. So I was learning Arabic. So by the time we went to Lebanon, I was learning English. I was learning Arabic as a second language, while most were learning English as a second language. So it took me a while to get kind of the languages up to par, but that's essentially the story. But so some transitions, personal, educational, work-wise, all kind of combined together with the timing.
That's amazing. That's really good that you learned Arabic in your childhood growing up. So now it's obviously very beneficial to you as you are a community leader for our community. So that's amazing. Talk to me a little bit about. So you have a very strong educational academic background, very strong. You have your bachelor's in general engineering. You also concentrated in psychology, and then you went and you did your PhD in MS as well. Talk to me about what made you want to focus on STEM education, and how did that not only help your professional life, but your personal life as well?
Yeah, so I remember growing up, when I was little, I think I wanted to be a teacher because your role models are your teachers. Right. And then as I got a little bit older, my dad was in business. I thought I wanted to be a businesswoman. And then slowly, I think when I was in junior high and then high school, I just really liked math and sciences. And I didn't know about engineering until I think my uncles were sharing with me what they were doing in engineering. And it's all about taking things apart, and I like taking things apart and figuring out how does this work, or helping my dad with things around the house. So he would have his toolbox. I enjoyed kind of these hands-on activities. And so in high school, this was when I was in Southern California, our physics teacher told us about this program called Cosmos. It's a math and science summer program that was hosted at UC Irvine. It's a 4-week, kind of like these college prep programs. So I was really fortunate to be accepted into that. So a few of my classmates, our physics teacher encouraged us. We applied. They had also financial aid and scholarship opportunities. So that, I feel like that was an important opportunity that helped shape or introduce me to the opportunities with engineering. So that at Cosmos, this math and science summer program, they had a track. You could choose which topics you were interested in, and I chose physics and engineering because that track was related to cars. And at the time, when I was in Lebanon, I used to follow Formula One race car driving, cool. And so I thought at the time I was into cars. or at least, that was like the cool thing, right? To understand the fast cars and whatnot and the motors. But through that cluster that I was in, I got to learn about the opportunities related to engineering careers. And that experience was also, an opportunity to get prepared for college. So we had like a college writing class, and it was a chance I lived on campus, so it was also, slowly being away from home. I mean, it was like it was like a 20-40 minute drive away from home, but like my parents and family could visit me every week. And so it was slowly kind of helping us prepare for what the college process was in the U.S. And so I think like these resources are available. We don't always reach out to them, or we are not always aware about them. But these mentors, they come into your life, whether it's your teachers or family members or friends, and that's something I'm very grateful for. And I think, mentors kind of come in different forms when you're you're struggling. I mean, we're always this uncertainty, right? Like, what's the next step going to be? How am I going to figure out my life? Who am I going to be? So I would say I didn't know about engineering until that program. And when I applied to college, so my aunt actually told me about the college to apply to, which I went to Harvey Mudd College. It's a small liberal arts college, which is part of the Claremont colleges. So Harvey Mudd is a math, science, and engineering, one of the sister colleges, and they are one of, I think there's only 2 or 3 colleges that offer a general engineering program. So my aunt recognized that, I would benefit well from a small college experience where I could have more interaction and time with professors, and so it was a private college. So I also applied for scholarships and financial aid, and that really helped. Because I think the tendency, maybe a lot in our community as well, and I think we've seen that a lot in a lot of the immigrating communities, that people tend to go into community college right away because it's cheaper, and then you apply to transfer. And while that's understandable, right, there's, obviously everyone has like circumstances. But what I want to encourage people is to look at the 4-year college opportunities, because there is a lot of scholarships and financial aid options. Sometimes they're specialized. So yeah, I'd be happy to kind of provide resources on that. But there are more resources in this country. I think, you really have to kind of go out there and look for it. It doesn't always just fall in your lap, so to speak, right? You really have to be a kind of a go-getter. So I think that's like a long-winded answer, but to kind of combine, I guess, the multiple circumstances I had that enabled kind of the path I was in, the path I ended up taking. So when I applied to Harvey Mudd, I applied to this general engineering program. And actually this summer, I went, so after my aunt told me about the college, I did a college tour, and then, I was on their mailing list. And they have a club called SWE, Society of Women Engineers, and they host a conference called the West Conference, Women Engineers and Scientists of Tomorrow. They reached out to, they host this like one-day conference. They reached out to all the high schoolers in the area.
This was in California?
In Southern California, yeah. Okay. So this is Harvey Mudd College, like before I applied to it.
Oh, okay.
Before I even joined the college, while I was still in high school, I learned about this conference. So I think I don't know if it was like my senior year of high school that I got to attend the West Conference. And it was a one-day workshop with the Harvey Mudd professors and students. And they also had these kind of interactive games or kind of little groups of people, they had group activities, so to just expose us what engineering is about, engineering design. Actually, one of the activities, I'm thinking we could use it for one of the Network 1017 events. I'm hoping that'll be a good way of, getting to learn about how to think in an engineering mindset, or the skills.
I love that.
So yeah, I would say that's where like these opportunities just introduced me to what what's out there. And Harvey Mudd, has this general engineering program, but like then with your electives, you can specialize if you wanted to. So at the time, and actually this started at Cosmos, at UCI they have the Fuel Cell Center or Fuel Cell Research Institute, something like that. And so I was interested in the environment. Essentially, that was kind of my objective before I learned about engineering, was I wanted to do something to help the environment and sustainability. So that was kind of my motivating factor. Some people it's more into business or bio, or med school, but my track was really on the environmental side. And so at Cosmos, I learned about fuel cells. There's alternative technologies. What if you have a fuel cell driven, powered car? So I learned when I applied to college, my interest was, okay, I wanted to study engineering so I could learn more about alternative and renewable technologies. And at the time, my thought was, I'm going to solve the energy crisis. That was my, how I was going to save the world, and I was going to go back to Lebanon, and we would all not have to have.
Yeah, we need a lot of help in Lebanon, that's for sure.
Extra, power generators. That was kind of my, I don't want to say, I guess kind of naive view of how I was going to fix things, but I would say that was part of the passion and drive of we see all these problems and how can we be a positive contributing role towards society, our community, and our countries.
So it sounds like you really spent a lot of time before you started college experimenting with this type of passion that you had at a young age, which I find I wanted to kind of point out here, because I think that with a lot of parents that are listening to this, or even just young students, or even just anybody who's listening to this, just wanting to know more about engineering or any career any career, right? You really spent time experimenting with something that you found interest in, and before deciding you wanted to commit to it for the next 4 years to 5 years to 6 years, or for the rest of your life, right? So I find that very, very smart on your end, because I think what a lot of young people have a hard time with is that they're always like, well, I don't know, I'm passionate about a lot of things, and I just don't know which one to choose, and there's just so many options. Or someone would be like, I don't really know what I'm passionate about, and I'm having a really hard time figuring it out. I love that you said that you, at a young age, said, okay, I like this. I don't know if this is what I want to do, right? But you've invested yourself into it and immersed yourself into it for quite some time to realize, yeah, actually, I do see myself doing this, and it does align with my goals, with the environmental things that you wanted to do and pursue, and you were able to continue that. So I really admire the fact that you did that at a young age, because I think it really set you up for success now in your career, being able to just do really well.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I wouldn't have known that, right? Now in hindsight, it's easier to tell the story of how it happened,
right?
But at the time, and a lot of us experience this, or a lot of folks, whether they're in college, and it's like, or even when you're in high school, what am I going to be? Or how do I apply to college? What major do I declare? It's okay not to know. And if anything, one thing I would suggest a lot to people, sometimes you just need to make a list of what you don't like, what you don't want to do. And then that, just be open to the possibilities. And these questions, I would say, interact with more people, to ask people what's your work life like? What is it that's driving you? So I would say, I think you summarized it nicely, that really the passion, the environmental, sustainability aspect is what drove my path. But along the way, I was learning about what are the skills that I would need. So I studied engineering because I wanted to be able to build things. I wanted to be able to solve problems, build technologies and get them commercialized and see them, in use. But also not just build any technology that would be beneficial, right, for society and for humanity. So that's something, right? It's just having a conscious of what you're doing, not just doing it blindly. And then I think what led me to do my master's and PhD was also stemmed from that same kind of curiosity of like, okay, what are the skills I need to really make an impact? So really, I would say what's driving me is like, how do I be a positive contributor and make a positive impact? Hopefully it's big, but that's not something in our control. So actually, during my third year of college, when I was at Harvey Mudd, I applied to a scholarship through our environmental program, and I got to do a summer research at AUB. I went to the American University of Beirut for the summer of 2005. Yeah, summer of 2005.
How'd you like it?
And I wanted, and my motivation really was, well, for one, I really want to go to Lebanon, but I knew I couldn't waste my summer. Like, everyone's doing internships or summer research, and it's like, okay, well, how do I combine making this productive? Because like, I'm almost, my senior year, like I had done an internship the summer before, but so I saw this opportunity through an application, and I also, part of my motivation of going to AUB was I wanted to experience what it had been like had we not moved. Like, now, it's like at the time when we lived in Lebanon, I thought I was going to go to school in Lebanon. I was going to go to university there. And so this was a great chance for me to, get a taste of what it may have been like.
Right.
And at the time...
So what happened? Did you come back and you're like, okay, forget this? Everyone's feeding me too much? Just kidding.
No, we are very lucky, I would say. It's really tough. I mean, AUB students and all, students in Lebanon, really, like there's a lot of pressure, and you really have to... Yeah. There's a lot of, I won't say struggle, but people really have to make a lot more concerted effort to realize their successes, and I think it's a lot more readily available for us in U.S. Or kind of more tangible. Maybe let's say it's tangible because we don't have to deal with kind of the corruption issues and
just a very struggling country, basically. That's not really supportive in many ways. I mean, I wouldn't say many ways, but it is harder to pursue your passions in Lebanon in many ways because of the problems that are going on there, versus here it's more, like you said, more tangible.
Yeah, there's a lot more that you have to navigate between. It's not just like, here's, I'm competent for this role. No, there's more politics to it, unfortunately. But that experience, I mean, before I went to do that summer research experience, and again, this was between my third and fourth year, so I'm saying that just to highlight kind of the timing, where it's this other critical, like, okay, what's going to happen next summer when I graduate? Where am I going?
Right.
At that time, I thought I wanted to get a master's in engineering, and I was going to get an MBA. That's what I knew. I wanted to go to grad school, but I figured I'm just going to do a master's. And I thanks to my dad's experience and what I saw his work was all about, I was really interested in the business aspect as well. So I thought, it's important to capture that somehow. Well, after I think it was a 6 or 8 week research program at AUB, and at the end of that, I realized, I really want to pursue a PhD. Like, I wanted to learn the skills to help me solve any problem, and there's this that's when I saw, through working with the professors and the grad students there, I got to learn, kind of it was the same thing where you get to, ask people why they're studying, what they're working towards. I figured if I really want to make an impact, I needed to get more skills. And that's the opportunity I saw with continuing, doing a master's PhD program straight. So I feel very grateful that kind of there was a lot more clarity for me in my kind of steps. It became clear cut each step of the way as I was, working towards my goal, which was again driven by how do I make a positive impact for society, and at the time, I thought of myself, I'm an engineer, but it's really okay, no, I'm a human being
right.
with training as an engineer to think like an engineer,
right,
and identify the resources that will help me, be a positive asset in society. So I think sometimes we get too much, maybe we get, I don't want to say limited by it, but we get kind of consumed by this like labeling, that our career defines us.
Yeah.
It's just one aspect of us.
Yeah.
And when we just, think of ourselves back to like who we are and, as a community, as a Druze, member in the society, and hopefully, following the path, then that kind of, then we're kind of getting back in tune with, what's the purpose of our soul, and what's the purpose of our journey in this lifetime. So what career we choose is just an opportunity for us to strengthen the skill sets we have. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and ideally you identify opportunities that help strengthen the skills you have, and build on the ones that are a little bit weaker. But everything, the other nice thing I really enjoy about engineering, it's very team. There's a lot of teamwork. So I'm very social. I really like, it's not just about working with technology and getting your hands dirty. And it's being able to brainstorm and have creativity in design, and connecting with people. So that was another aspect, right? Like the humanity aspect.
Right.
That, people tend to think of STEM, that it's just, okay, all this technical, like math, science, and maybe dry to some, but actually it can be creative too. And I think that was another advantage of my college experience, because it's a liberal arts school. So a third of my coursework was in the humanities. So I got to have, I feel it was like a well-rounded education, that it's, kind of tied back to the human aspect of our work.
I like that you said that, because it also sounds like what you've mastered and taken from your engineering background and improved on skill wise you were able to also take it in your personal life as well, because I truly believe your business life and your personal life do go hand in hand in many ways, and whatever you've mastered in your business life, it can also be taken in your personal life as well. If you're able to be disciplined in your business, you're able to be disciplined in your personal life, right? Vice versa. And it sounds like taking what you were able to enjoy in your personal life and implement it in your business life, with the whole social aspect and creativity and innovation that you brought, with also environmental perspectives. It seems like it really helped you prosper in many ways.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm very grateful for. That success. I would say, hopefully it's a success or prosperity. That's, I would say, subjective, right, based on how people view it. But really, very grateful for my parents that have been supportive. That's crucial, right, to have that support in your family. That it's not common, as we know, to have women in engineering in general, and let alone in our community. And it's been really nice to see that there's been more women engineers in the Druze community, and also making an impact in their way. And also, my parents, God, obviously, having a strong sense of faith is crucial, I would say, and for anyone, like, it doesn't matter, not just about our career, right? So, I think kind of being in touch with our purpose, and so I feel like as a Druze community member, right, like, that's like part of our culture is really, it's defined by our faith, and hopefully we learn more about it and practice it, and that the impact of that shows up in our life, whether it's professional, personal, etc. So
how have you found that? How have you been able to implement what you've learned in your faith into your professional life? How has that helped you?
Yeah, I would say, it's the driving principles, right? Like how you treat yourself, treat others. If at the end of the day, remember that God sees us. So it's not about it goes back to the intention, the truthfulness, right? I mean, all the pillars of our faith, essentially, that if that's defining your day-to-day mindset, and I mean, I would say that to me is kind of the driving
factor, you would say.
Yeah, I would say that essentially defines kind of, I would say, my identity. So our faith is what defines my identity. And so that's why I feel like my professional life is just something, as part of practicing my faith, I need to excel at whatever I do. Whether that's doing my job, whether that's being a sister, a daughter, hopefully a spouse, a mother, etc. That it gives you the perspective to handle whichever role you're in, and I would say the success of it is really just driven by how much we really connect with God through prayer and practice and being connected with our community, right? So.
I love that. That's very beautiful and well said, Sarah. Thank you. And I guess I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know we have a few minutes left, but I do want to ask one or two more questions about your path. One is, why did you choose the PhD route and just adding more education to your belt? Is it because you wanted to master? You felt like that was going to help you master your engineering skills, or did you find that it was more so of a network purposes? Why go that route and so deeply into the academia?
Yeah, so when I was doing the summer research program at AUB, and it was a research project to test a more efficient HVAC system for hot, humid climates. So, Beirut, for example, is hot and humid in the summertime. So it's like, okay, if you can make an AC system that is more efficient, uses, less energy, and still provides comfort, they had a design and we were testing that, so that was my opportunity there. But I realized that it's like, well, if there's more technologies, if the technology is not complete, or there's more, there's so many problems that it really requires a deeper dive. So I saw the opportunity with the PhD as a way to get the skills to help me, like, how do you do the deeper dive? And I didn't pursue the PhD to be in academia. So that wasn't my primary objective. Like, I thought, okay, having the PhD gives me the chance to be a professor at some time, but that wasn't my primary purpose. I really wanted to do research. I wanted to research or develop technologies. And I would say at my current job, I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. I get to work with a lot of startups and so and push those technologies through for commercialization by addressing kind of the research gap or the kind of technology gaps. So I feel like it allowed me to be a mediator between academia. So when you have new technologies that are or new ideas and inventions coming out of academia or the labs, but how do you push them to the commercial? To the marketplace, I get to be that liaison in my current role, which is very exciting. And then you're always at the cutting edge. So the other thing I would say with a PhD is that you get to always work on the latest thing. And that was actually advice my PhD advisor gave me. He said, just expect, because once you have a PhD, you really want to be on the cutting edge. Expect that you're not going to stay in any specific job very long because you always want to kind of do the latest.
Right.
And I would say at my current job, I've been there for 4 years, that I'm always seeing the new stuff. So I could stay at the same company doing kind of seeing the new emerging cool companies and technologies. So
I like that. No, it does answer it. It gave me a good it made me understand better. It gave you two different perspectives, and you were able to combine it in order to mediate and figure out, how to solve certain problems and how to give better guidance when people came to you with certain solutions as well. So it makes perfect sense. It definitely made you more well-rounded in your field as well, which I can tell. That's awesome. Well, my one of my last questions is, what do you want to? What do you? I mean, being a woman in engineering, what would you like to see more in other women as they go, especially Druze women as they get into engineering? What would you like to see more of in the near future?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I think it's not just women in engineering. I would say women in STEM, right? So
Right.
science, technology, engineering, and math. So since they're male dominated, and obviously no offense,
Yeah.
but it's just that because now we're a minority within, and as Druze community, we're also a minority. So it's how do you learn,
stand out too.
how do you navigate, right, the
Right.
waters? And there's a few things, right? Number one is finding your voice. How do you be able to have the courage? That's something we always want to try to be able to be courageous, and express ourselves, and feeling confident. That's something I feel like can take time, or it just depends on the person, their personality. But that was something I feel like it took me and continues to take time to grow in that, when you don't have as many peers that are similar, kind of in a similar background. So, and I think the way I navigated it was because at Harvey Mudd in undergrad, I was part of SWE, so the Society of Women Engineers. So I was, you find your support groups. So I would say, as advice, is find your support group. They don't have to be, all. I feel like I didn't really get to meet the Druze women engineers until a lot later, or more recently, thanks to Network 1017 and seeing kind of the outreach that's happened through that. But at the time, like SWE, I got to network more with my professors. I did take on a leadership role. I was part of the board. I got to be a co-chair, so got to organize the West conferences a few times, and mentor and be mentored that way. So similarly, in grad school, they had GWE, which was the Graduate Women of Engineering. So that was another support group, and we only had, I think, 2 female professors in the mechanical engineering department. And I also reached out to one of the professors there with things I was struggling with, how to kind of communicate. How to communicate and share, or address challenges, whether it was related to my research or navigating which topic am I going to be, or how do I know which path I want to be in. So that question always comes up, and so I would say finding the mentors. Again, they don't have to be women engineers. I did reach out to other professors and even my colleagues, my lab mates. Mentors are really crucial, and sometimes there's someone in your life that could you consider them a mentor, but they have no idea
Right.
You're their mentor, right? But you value just you learn from how they're addressing situations and challenges, and remember that you're not alone. I think that was a big lesson I learned in grad school, when the things that I was struggling with my research, and then when I started sharing that with my with my lab mates, then I learned everyone's actually struggling with the same thing, but no one wanted to share that, or wasn't sure. Rather, sometimes you're just not sure. Is it just you? And most times you'll realize you're not alone. So reach out, talk to people.
Talk to your community.
Sometimes you feel you're being vulnerable, but actually, it's always appreciated, and you build, good, strong relationships that way, right? So.
I love that, and now if any woman is listening to this, or even male, doesn't matter. You can reach out to Sara. She seems like she's been in this field for so long and has experienced a lot, and knows so much that I think she can be a great mentor as well. So there's an option there.
Yeah, I know that we all have issues and problems and challenges we're struggling with, and we tackle them in different ways. So hopefully some of the paths I tried work for others, but I'd also love to learn how others are learning, dealing with theirs. So I'll welcome it on the other way. I'm always up for learning.
I love it. And so you heard it best. If you're an engineer, reach out to Sara as well. Maybe you guys can share some notes. One last question for you, Sarah, and this is the last one, I promise. What's one truth you've discovered on your path that you would like to share with everyone? I know it's a hard question, so take your time.
One truth I've discovered along my path is humility is really crucial. And that, I would say, that's also driven from the faith perspective, that we can't do things on our own, and it's not us, right? That are like we tend to want to be in control and think we're in command, and yeah, we figured it out. But just kind of be a tool. Recognize that, you know what, I'm just a contributing asset to the world, and hopefully I'm a positive asset. So I think when we come back to that, recognize that, and kind of gives us that humility standpoint, then it's easier to deal with stuff, because it's easier when you say, I don't know, and you remember that, yeah, I really don't know. All this education, I really don't know much.
Right.
And, you learn with others, and, always pray and connect with God to guide you. So I would say the humility is a kind of a crucial thing to fall back on all the time.
I love that you said that, because recently I was talking to one of my uncles, and he's like a great mentor to me. I always ask him questions about business, and one day I asked him, I was like, I'm more like, should I do this, or should I go this path, or what should I do? I'm so confused. I just started asking him a ton of questions, and at first I was very like embarrassed to ask, because sometimes you don't want the ones that you love the most to see you at a vulnerable state, or that you don't know what you're doing, and then at the end of the conversation, I was really happy for him. Like, it made me feel kind of almost validated me in a sense, where he said in the end, he was just like, I'm happy you asked me questions, because that just tells me you're gonna be very successful in the end, because you're just asking a ton of questions. You're not embarrassed about it. And then it was very encouraging, because it just pushed me to be more vulnerable with people and ask the right questions and be able to handle that. So I'm really happy you said that, because I think that's a very important trait in your path to success, when you want to really excel in your career and what you want to do. So I really loved your advice and the truth that you gave. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. No, this has been a great opportunity, and I appreciate sharing, and I look forward to learning from everyone else in the community too.
Perfect. Sarah, listen, I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and from with Network, also from Network 1017. Thank you for being on this podcast, and I can't wait to share it with everybody.
Look forward to seeing you hopefully soon.
Yes. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next episode. And if you need to reach out to Sarah, you can find her on, I think LinkedIn is what you said was good.
Yep.
LinkedIn. So LinkedIn it is. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next episode.
Take care. See you later.
See ya.